G'day guys, Mac with the Other Circle. Today is one of those funny videos where I have one particular topic I really want to talk about. And I've got two other topics I also want to talk about, and so I've sort of smushed them together like clowns hopping into a very small car. First of all, we're going to talk about the Letting the Galaxy Burn Chaos Space Marines Combat Patrol. This is the first time in a long time that I can remember where a kit has released and it's not full of exclusive miniatures as the selling point. I think Games Workshop deserves a real round of applause for this, because this is actually a pro-customer move. They have actually released a box where the characters or the vehicles or the units in it are not being paywalled behind buying a hundreds of dollar box. And that's fantastic, and they deserve to be applauded for such a customer-friendly move. In the past, you would have box sets like, take the last Grey Knights one, for example, where you had Custle and Crow locked into that box. Or the previous Chaos set, which had, the Greater Possessed, it had the Tarantula Demon Engine, all in that box. And the only way you can get them, even to now, pretty much, was by buying that box. Well, this here is just Havoc's regular Chaos Space Marines, the Dark Apostle, and the Hellbrute, all models which already exist in plastic. Great, you're selling them at a discount. This makes it easier for people to, shock horror, get into the game in the first place. This is exactly the sort of thing I am talking about. This is what we want. And if they did more moves like this, that'd be fantastic. Now, of course, they can still fuck it up, because it is Games Workshop, and money does cloud their vision and their judgment. And they can fuck it up by fucking the price. But as it stands, they deserve credit where credit is due. So I really want to just point that out. Now let's move on. There's an article that's come out for the Horus Heresy saying, more than Marines, here's how the other factions fit into Warhammer, the Horus Heresy. And in here they talk about how they've got awesome new stuff coming, blah, 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 the normal sales pitch. But the key lines is in this paragraph and one below. While the Liber Astartes and Liber Hereticus will allow Space Marine players to use their full collections right away, factions like the Mechanicum, the Solar Auxilia, and the Talons of the Emperor will be joining them very soon. Including, amongst other things, full knight armies for the Age of Darkness. So, to be pedantic, they didn't mention Imperial Militia, and they didn't mention Demons of the Ruin Storm. But let's ignore that. What they're saying is that you will only have access to Space Marines on the launch of this game. And that, to me, isn't good enough. And this isn't one of those times where it's like, opinions may vary. I mean, no, this is bullshit. And it needs to be called out as bullshit. Because when you don't call this stuff out, well, it's basically how we got to this situation in the first place where the customer is getting bent over by the company. All factions should be playable on day one of this edition. It's just that clear cut. If they are not able to be played on day one, delay the release. I don't give a fuck about, we're playing a big Mechanicum release in September and we want to please the shareholders for the next quarterly meeting. No, get fucked. Don't care. Not my problem. My problem is how you treat your community, because the people who've invested into this game have invested a lot of money into this game. And the very least you could do is have a day one PDF that allows all of these factions to be played. Just the short, condensed version of the rules for these factions, with all the fluff taken away, and it's just pure rules. So that people can enjoy their armies on the tabletop instead of putting them on a shelf for the next 3 or 4 months. I think that's the least that can be done, and it's pretty fucking disrespectful if it's not done. And what's worse about this is the fact that they say each of the major factions waging war in the Horus Heresy will feature in their own books. For the really esoteric things, including discontinued models, rules will be made available for free in the forthcoming Legacies of the Age of Darkness PDF. That part's fine. And in any case, we want you to be able to join in all the fun with the new edition as soon as possible, no matter what you collect. But you've just said the opposite in the paragraph below. Like, we want you to join as soon as possible, but that's as soon as we get around to providing it. And then it goes on to say, we'll be able to tell you more about the support each faction can expect when we get closer to the launch of the new edition. No, flat out, just no. this happens in business sometimes. Customer comes to you, or someone is trying to strong arm you, and they say, this is what we want to do. Here's how much it's going to cost you, whatever it might be. And sometimes you just got to be firm and just say, no. This is one of those times where I sit here and I go, no, that's not the deal. Right? They slide the contract across the desk with the pen, and you just push it straight the fuck back across the desk. No, I'm not signing that, because I don't agree to this. You tell me today. Go upstairs, people at Warhammer Community, talk to someone who's in charge, get the fucking answers, and give them to your player base. Because the people in this community deserve to know. Because I'm going to lay out a situation for you here, and the situation is as follows. Heresy players are generally older players, because they've got more disposable income, on average, than players of the other systems. Now, this isn't always true, but it's a generalization. Now, those Heresy players, they are often 30s and 40s. That means they often have kids of their own. And these kids are being introduced at this age, usually around the 12 to 15 mark, into the world of Games Workshop through their parents. Now, if their parents, who are the ones who've been keeping the hobby alive with their spending, decide that they've been fucked over too much and decide to not introduce their children to this hobby, and warn their kids away from it and do a good job of persuading them that, you know what, you're just going to get screwed over, why don't you play Infinity, or Bolt Action, or some other war game instead, Kings of War, Battletech, whatever it might be, these other great game systems that are out there. Then the kids might go, okay, okay, Dad, let's go play that instead. That's a very real situation. So right now, I see this as not only bad for the people who've spent money on it, but you're also potentially tarnishing the relationship of the company with the up-and-coming hobbyists who are just looking at getting into it now, because they're just looking at this situation going, well, do I want to be a part of that? Do I want to be involved with the company who is so concerned about their bottom line, about earning money, that they will fuck over factions and delay a release because they want to put it into the next quarter because they want to have better financials in the next quarter of the year? Because that's really what it boils down to. It's the only reason they won't delay this release, and why they bring out Marines Day 1. They want the focus on Marines and Marines only. Because they want people to do that FOMO buy. You want to buy this new box that's coming out. And they want to pull the same shit again in 3 months when they drop some plastic Mechanicum. Or something to that effect. That would be my guess. Why? Because I'm cynical, and cynicism's got me far in life. And it's not good enough. So I don't agree to these terms. No getting closer to the launch. Today, you are quite capable of today getting on here, write an article, write a Facebook post, fucking leak it for all it matters. Someone inside Games Workshop. Tell the community where they stand. Let them know that their shit is going to be usable day one. Because if it's not, then this game isn't a game for all Heresy players. It's a game for players of the Heresy who enjoy their Marines. And whilst that is fun, and whilst, yes, that is the majority of the Heresy community, I can tell you from my own experience that the other factions make up a third to sometimes half of the people gaming at events. Mechanicum is incredibly popular, and those who are on the Mechanicum train are usually very dedicated to it. Like Eldar players, they become lifelong players. Just, they love that faction. They can tell you all the history and the in-depth lore of that faction. They care so much about it. And they don't care about gun pigs. They don't care about Marines. Same thing can be said for people who like things like the Sisters of Silence. The people who go for those factions love them to pieces. Demons players who had nothing but pain in 40k for a long time and came over to the Heresy and are loving Demons of the Ruinstorm is another great example. Do they want to miss out on gaming? And I don't think it's fair to any of these people, because you're saying that Knights, Custodes, Sisters, Militia, Solar, Mechanicum, which has Tagmata, Reductor, and Cybernetica, the three. You've got at least 8 factions or sub-factions there in the game, alongside your 18 legions. So that's fully a third of the content for the game, just relegated to the side on day one. And this shit's important to talk about, because this is, if we don't make noise about these things, we can't affect change. And Games Workshop can be made to affect change. It's really difficult, but they have done it before. Great example of screwing over the customers and changing their mind. The release of Scarbrand in Australia. It came out at such a high price point. Apparently, 0 were sold on release. And the company actually said, shit, we actually pushed them too far on price this time. They bought it down $20. And then it sold. So it goes to show that they can be made to change their attitude. And this is one of those times where the customer is being bent over. The company's like, you know what, we don't want to provide support because it suits our finances better later on. Well, I'm sorry, but the customer-company relationship is a mutually beneficial one. Or at least it should be. And yes, you can point to customers who are dicks, and you can point to companies which are far worse than Games Workshop. You know, you can point to Martin Shkreli's raising of AIDS medication, for example, by 3,000% in price overnight or whatever it might be, and go, you know, what a scumbag move. Yeah, those are very real. But that's whataboutism. Just because other bad things in other companies exist or are worse than Games Workshop doesn't give them a free pass to be dicks. So have the courtesy to at the least Games Workshop, release a day one PDF that gives rules for all the other factions in the Horus Heresy so they are playable. Doesn't need to be background content, doesn't need to be fluff, any of that kind of thing. You can leave upcoming releases out of it so that people still have a reason to go and buy the future releases down the line. You can say things like there will be points readjustments to this and yada yada yada. Because I get it, they don't want to release a PDF like all the other gaming manufacturers will do, the ones that actually give a shit about their community. No, what they want to do is, they're like, oh, then we can't sell them a codex later, and oh, bottom line, like, how dare we support our community with these books that we constantly supersede and make irrelevant by making them relevant all year round. Yeah, no, that's not very nice of them. Anyway, let's go on from there, and heaps of salt to salt-reduced diet. Lucius the Eternal got a model, and I think it's pretty good. I really like it, in fact. I think that it's funny that on his gold pauldron there's a bunch of 3D print lines on that left shoulder pad facing straight at camera. That's pretty funny. And also he's got the Cadbury Dairy Milk Chocolate, huge chocolate brand here in Australia, logo across his chest with all swirliness. That's funny to me. But overall, the model is great. In fact, the sword is the sort of sword I imagined on Saul Tarvitz. Not that weird monstrosity that Saul Tarvitz actually got. So, big improvement right there. Great, love to see it. But, and there's always a but, welcome to the outer circle. Why this pose? I mean, it's not a bad pose. As I said, I really like this model. I think this is better than Saul Tarvitz by a country mile, who I don't hate, but I definitely don't like. But the problem is when you compare him side by side with Saul Tarvitz, you start to see that there is more than a passing similarity in pose, which wouldn't be too bad across the scope of all of the models in the Horus Heresy, but when they're two named characters who fight alongside one another in the very same faction, it's not a very good look, is it? I think it's fair to say it's a bit too samey. And again, I think Lucius is the better of the two models by far, so no hate on Lucius. In fact, no hate on Saul Tarvitz. Neither model is terrible. Saul's definitely the worst of the two, though. I really can't stress that enough. But, come on. They at least flip the leg so the leg is the other knee's up in the air or something. But come on, guys. This is... You know, and there are arguments to be made about fluff consistency and accuracy with Lucius's model and such. Get it, respect it, fine. I often bring up pedantic fluff points myself. But they're the least of my problems. What concerns me, though, is when I show you this image here, and you have Saul Tarvitz, you have Lucius, Captain Lucius, and you have Remus Ventanis of the Ultramarines, and you realise that not only are they repeating the same pose over and over, I'm pretty damn sure they reused exactly Remus Ventanis' legs and changed out the spikes into rivets and got rid of the Ultramarine symbol on one leg, flipped the banner upside down on the other leg, and I think they might have even kept the same little laurel wreath sort of thing on the right knee pad. But yeah, this is the same asset, the underlying wireframe asset being reused. And say what you will, I know I'm not a fan of the tactical rocks, and I should probably say one thing on that. Tactical rocks is a way to give more dynamic poses, and that is fine. It's what you do with your characters once they're on that rock that really matters, and if your rock is necessary. Because a lot of these characters are placed onto these rocks, and all it does, it makes them really, really difficult to place onto different types of terrain. If they're not on a rocky battlefield, say they're in a zone mortalis, say they're on an icy battlefield, something like that, and you want to use like clear water effects and resins and stuff to do your ice and crystals, and these rocks make that very difficult process for the player. This is the sort of thing that needs to be optional for the player, or add a tiny little bit more material, into these kits when you make them, and design 2 or 3 alternate things they can stand on. A helmet, a backpack, a torso, a weapon, a rock, a tree stump, a fucking jerry can, a pile of Playboy magazines, whatever it might be. Give them something else apart from repeating slightly different shaped rocks across multiple bases, where the characters all look the same from the waist down. Yeah, and look, just really, really stress this point home. Let's look through the characters. Dark Angel's Praetor, standing 1 knee up on rock. Tylus Rubio, 1 knee up on rock. Pollux, 1 knee up, standing on stairs. But at least it makes sense in his scenic base, and it's not just a rock, it's actually a part of the story it's telling. Sevatar, same story being told, same sort of stairs, actually. Eidolon, standing up, but again, on top of the Derriday, at least at the scenic bases, it's telling its own thing. Although Eidolon, 3rd Emperor's Children, 3 for 3, all 3 Emperor's Children characters, 1 knee up, standing on object. Then we get down to Erebus and Corphoron. Erebus, standing with 1 knee up, but again, works in the base it's in, the dueling base. Going further down here, we get to Wordbearer's Legion Praetor, standing up on rock, 1 knee forward. Same with the Moritat with Volkite. Same with the Legion Vigilator. Same with the Sons of Horus Praetor, though you could argue that at least the whole base is kind of scenic with the size of the rock. Moving further down, Ultramarines Terminator Praetor, knee up on rock. Sons of Horus Cataphracti Praetor, knee on rock. Alpha Legion Praetor, knee on rock. And, hey, Chapter Champion and Master Signals, yeah, he's got knee on rock, just like and he's painted Emperor's Children, so he really fits in with the theme of today. But at least his is a staircase of rocks. It's actually bricks and things like that making up, so a little bit more going on there. Malagurst, knee up on rock. Remus Ventanus, knee on rock. Sultavitz, knee on rock. Custodes Shield Captain, knee on rock. Legion Praetor, knee on rock. Halval Redblade, knee on rock. Chinzar, Neon Dreadnought. Ardal Tel, Neon Marine. Nathaniel Garrow, Neon Ardal Tel's mate. Dark Angel's Deathwing Companions, multiple knees up, foot on rock. Mazzarl, Butcher, Demon Prince of Khorne. Fucking even he has a knee on up, foot on rock. Amelius Dynat, knee up on rock, but again, at least it fits the base. So it's just over and over and over again. Reldoran, 1 knee up, foot on Demon Brute arm. Is it not getting a little excessive? Is it not getting a little excessive? Why don't we do something else with those poses? Mortarion is standing on flat ground, and you've got an interesting pose with him. Same with Sigismund. Khan is running. Imagine models running. Lucius is probably a great example of a cocky swordsman who could... Lucius would fit really well into a Fulgrim type pose. Like that pirouetting, sword-wielding, dashing sort of pose. He could pull that off. Garviel Loken and even Abaddon with him are both sort of in this charging at one another duel, and that's sort of a missed opportunity with Saul and Lucius. Those two could have had a scenic diorama as like a limited run or event exclusive option for them, where you had a double base like Abaddon and Loken have, or Erebus and Corphoron, or Magnus and Russ, or Fulgrim and the Gorgon, Ferrus Manus. you could have had a dueling Istvan diorama where Saul is charging Lucius, who's beckoning him to challenge. The models are basically there. But it's not been done. They haven't even painted them with the same basis, so that definitely can't be what their plan is going forward. So, it kind of sucks. So yeah, I've harped on about the tactical rock, but I'm trying to stress the point of why it's not such a great thing. Anyway, that's all from me. I want to move on before this episode becomes too negative, but Lucius, I really like it. Like, I really like it. I would actually want to buy this model, and I haven't been able to say that about too many models lately. So that should tell you something. And yeah, as for it's more than just Marines in the heresy, prove it. Prove it, Games Workshop. Don't say, oh, we'll let you know that we have future plans in the future. There is nothing stopping you from coming out today and telling people exactly what the go is, except you don't want to. Because money, money, money. Don't do it. Alright, Mac with the Outer Circle. Thank you all for watching, and please, thoughts and feedback in the comments below. Rate my saltiness out of 10. See you all in the next one.